Welcome back to Hardcore Conservative Meat-Eating, Beer-Guzzling Radio. We've got two of our biggest proponents of it. I'm fucking around. I thought about that, before you guys got here. I was like, how am I going to introduce this one? Of, two of, the kindest people I know. I was like, why not just be a smart ass and, sarcastic about it? And that's the best I could come up with.
That was perfect. Spot on.
Thank you guys so much for doing this, man. So, because there's so much I want to talk about with both of y'all, but start with current. So, tattoo apprenticeship.
Yeah.
is now going on, and damn, dude, how long were you in the medical field for? It was a couple years, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was only a few years because nursing school took about 2 years, and then after that, I started working at SGMC. Did that for almost a year, and then I worked at Greenleaf for 2. So, it was three years, and I just didn't love it anymore.
What do you think was the biggest misconception people think about it? Because it's a big industry, the healthcare industry, especially around here.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah.
That I don't know. It's weird because nursing is rewarding, but people don't ever warn you all the bullshit you have to put up with. Not even from patients, but from just other nurses, from management. It's almost like they don't want you to take care of your patients. They do everything based on money. So if you do have a love for your patients, it's almost hard to do what you feel like you need to do because management stops you from doing it to save money. If that makes any sense, it's all about money.
Right. Well, I mean, it is it's a business, at the end of the day, and you got blue collar folk under that. So I get the argument about healthcare industry needing to remain in the private sector because I don't trust the government, so the last thing I want is them to have more control over life in America. Just to make it concise.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure most people have horror stories about all this shady and shadowy stuff that goes on in the healthcare industry. Mm-hmm. But is it for me, I've never had the brains to be able to do physical science like that, let alone try to be competent enough to get a job at it. The health and welfare of the community, I feel, would just go down if I got involved in that. My brain's just not wired for it, It just I cannot do it. But as far as stuff that goes on the back end of it, and I've got a few friends that are in the administrative level of the healthcare industry, and they talk about some of this. I guess it's a tie-in between big pharma and big insurance, mm-hmm. right? That more or less sort of put a stranglehold on the actual healthcare providers. So they make it to where they're going to be incentivized to sell a new drug to a patient or recommend using a new machine that they have invested in,
right.
all this stuff. So what would be something that you've seen personally from there?
Well, speaking for insurance purposes, they working at the last place I worked, at the mental health facility, it was more me seeing people who really needed to be there. They needed to be there for at least one more day to make sure that they didn't go home and kill themselves or hurt someone else or they're still psychotic, whatever. But when their insurance ran out, that was it. So it was constantly having to be on the phone with the insurance companies and having to chart in a way to make them feel like that it's worth them staying a few more days and them paying out for that patient. So that was really the biggest thing the biggest red flag for me in the mental health portion of it was just these people really need to be here. And these insurance companies, we could write one thing patient smiled today. And they're oh, they're okay. They're not going to kill themselves. Let them go. And it's no, that's not the way it works. We're the ones that are with them the most during the day. The doctor sees them for 5 minutes. I see them for my whole 12-hour shift. So why are you saying that what I charted is not good enough? why are you trying to say that these people are safe when they're not? Because, I mean, it looks really bad for a hospital to let someone go and then them kill themselves the next day.
Right.
Or
take it out on other people.
Yeah.
Like these mass shootings, and
Yeah.
people want to immediately jump to, well, it's got to be the firearm. You focus on that. It's like, yo, look at the history of the actual murderers. One, we need to put the blame on the person behind the fucking gun,
Yeah.
the murderer. And then let's take a look at, like, unpack this idea and look at why. And if you look at why, you see this series of similarities in them that revolves around mental health and certain types of, like, SSRI drugs. Now, again, I don't know a lot about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, when I come across it, it's a little harder for me to process versus, like, fucking Bigfoot. You know?
Yeah.
But I look at this stuff as far as what you're saying, tying into this uber bureaucratic healthcare system that we're in, and you look somewhere in like the mid 20th century. I forget what year, but this legislation started passing where it would not, if you kept somebody for mental health reasons, they started putting in this stuff where they said it was a human rights violation just to keep even dangerous people institutionalized. And while, like most things that are political, it's usually you get people's emotions involved in the short term, and then they don't think about the long term because you present them a solution to their emotional reaction to something, right?
Right.
So I think in the long-term ripple effects, what we've seen since like we started treating mental health on more of a bureaucratic level than looking at like what does not only the patient need, what does the community need? Because some of these folks are dangerous, not just to themselves, but to other people. And it's the long-term effects of that we see now where we see, okay, we've got mass shootings that are happening more frequently. We've got homeless crises that are going on the West Coast, and you look at a good chunk of these people, it's not because of economic reasons, it's because they got let out of mental institutions because they didn't have insurance, or because like they had reached the max amount of days they could stay there legally, and the state was like, well, they view it as a commodity, something they can make money off of, right? So they look at as far as, well, the risk assessment value of person X is too much of a risk for our insurance company to take. So, bye-bye.
I mean, I've legit had a patient that suffers so badly from schizophrenia that they are homeless. They'll never be able to hold down a job. They cannot function in society without being in trouble constantly, or, and they're homeless, so the cops, go after them, and then you feel bad because it's like, well, he ran out of days. Or she ran out of the day. So, he's never going to be able to come back here because even when he needs to, even when he has such a bad psychotic break that he's, thinking that the CIA's following him or whatever, and then he may get violent with somebody that approaches him because he thinks somebody's coming after him. I mean, it's, it all plays together, and then they want to blame this individual, and it's like, well, no, it's our faults that this person's still so fucked up. I mean, they're always gonna have trouble, they're always gonna have their problems, but if we could figure out some community resources or just a way to help them when they're going through a break, I mean, it'll be safer for them and everyone else. I don't know, I could go on about this all day long. This is part of the reason why I quit. I mean, I just felt like I wasn't doing anything positive anymore.
I understand that completely. Because you should be getting something positive out of your work anyway. You should like what you're doing. Doesn't mean you have to. That should be your core passion. Because I think if you get tunnel vision with just one thing, then when failure inevitably will happen, because the only way to succeed is to fuck up a couple times.
Right.
So if you put all your eggs in one basket, not only can it possibly make you destitute financially, but you can get some serious depression coming down from this when you invest everything into it. So I think you being more judicious with it, and because if you dedicate a couple years to pursuing something, it's showing good work ethic. It's not showing that you're just half-assing it or anything like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a almost a moral predicament in your mind, right? Because then you have this idea of like, well, if you quit, then that means you're not helping anybody, and it's not true in that essence, because, like you said, if there's something that's on a bureaucratic level is causing this failure to happen, then what can you do? If you really wanted, if that became your core passion, was fixing this problem, not necessarily helping people, but fixing this particular problem, then you would want to pursue it legislatively. So, become a litigator or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's been, I think, my biggest struggle since quitting was, like, I'll still wake up and get really bad anxiety at night thinking, well, damn, you're not a nurse anymore. You quit. Like, you are not doing anything to help, like you said, help anyone else. And then I got to take a step back and I'm like, well, it did weigh on my mental health so badly. Like, I had to be hospitalized. I went to the same type of hospital I was working in, and I had people approach me and they're like, well, what do you do, other patients? And I was like, well, I'm actually a mental health nurse. And then they would laugh and be like, well, why are you here? And it's like, just because I'm a mental health nurse doesn't mean that I don't struggle too. Like, I mean, of course I do. Like, this is a hard job. I mean,
right. Well, most clinical psychiatrists, they have a shrink they talk to.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's if you're absorbed in like something like your business all day, like, and you don't get a release from it, i.e. like, I'm sure whenever you have off time, you don't like sit at home and be like, oh, thank God I can draw and do art.
Yeah. No, not at all. I barely draw. Like, I don't think I draw as much as I used to now that I tattoo so much.
Right.
And he doesn't paint?
Yeah. I definitely don't draw or paint for myself at all anymore. I'm constantly drawing for appointments, and then when I'm not drawing for appointments, I'm like riding my motorcycle and not thinking about appointments.
Right. Like, you got to have a pause or an off switch.
Yeah.
That was, whenever I was up in Jersey, moved up there for a couple years, like, I was pursuing like just audio and music and whatnot, and it was all the time, like 24/7, all the time, and then working like a dead end job, like, just to keep the lights on. And before you know it, it's been like 3 years. It's like, man, like, I need to like do something else, or like, because like I did 10 years in food service industry, and it got to a certain point where I realized not only how replaceable like everybody is in that industry, but that at the end of the day, it's just management. Like, that's as far as you can go, and you're still doing the same thing essentially. You're just now responsible for more and have to dedicate more of your time to that. I was like, man, if I'm gonna have to dedicate more of my time to something, like, I want to, like, I don't know, like, work in like computers and design like stuff, graphics, and like, because I'm good at that, and like, people can pay me to do that, and they do, and like, I think you had just started, whenever I left, you had just started like getting like actually paid for being tattooist.
I started in 2008.
That's when I left.
Yep. I got started my apprenticeship 2008. So it's been a while.
Yeah, man.
His apprenticeship was a little bit different than like what we're doing with mine.
Yeah, I'm taking it a lot slower, which you should do.
I agree.
An apprenticeship. My apprenticeship, you're just kind of like, he showed you how to set up a machine, kind of threw you to the wolves, had to figure it out yourself, which is very hard,
No doubt.
So yeah, we're taking hers a little slower, and I think it's gonna be better this way. She'll be more proud of her first tattoos than I was. I look back on them and I'm just like, man, I wish I could just cut that person's leg off. And at the time I thought it was really good, but it's just like, and I think with a little more direction, it would have been better. But the guy that taught me, it's all about money. So
yeah,
I'm ready to make some money.
I remember kind of the fallout whenever the Brass Quill happened.
Yeah.
And me just like, that was like, I think whenever I first came back, because like I ran into you at like the Blue Pub. They had like a show, and I was like, oh my God, like look at you. You're like you blossomed so much. Well, this was years and years ago when you and I, our bands played a show in Tallahassee.
Yep.
And I remember telling you, I was like, I don't know like about you and your band, but you're gonna do great things one day, man. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that showcase or whatever.
Yeah,
where we were all trying to get signed. And I don't think anyone got signed.
Not one.
And there was like nobody there. I remember my mom was there and my sister were there.
Of course, her mom was there.
Yep.
She's always there.
Yeah, we thought it was gonna be a big thing.
And there was like nobody there.
No, not. There were like the judges. One of them gave us like some like solid advice, and he's like, you guys should do this and this and this. He's like, then you may have something. We're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
The other two are just like, well, thank you for your time.
Yeah. The only thing they told us was, you should put a label on your CD because it was just a blank CD and we didn't write a name or anything on it because we forgot.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, you should probably put your name on here. And that was all they told us. And we were like, that's it? Cool. Okay.
I remember saying there were other bands that day that they were under the impression like, oh, it's going to be a big deal too. So they had like intro music queued up and like all this other like flashy stuff, and there's literally nobody there except the other bands.
Yeah, it was down at the what's it called?
The Beta Bar?
Yeah, it was the Beta Bar.
Oh, the Beta Bar.
Yeah.
I had some good times there.
It was like in the middle of the day, dude. It was like 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, of course there's nobody here, you know.
Yeah, that was fun though. It was had my face paint on and
I believe
looking
it.
good. Man,
I bet you
Good
had on
times.
some Jinkos.
I did. Had on my skirt, my one-legged pant.
So, like, who inspired you to pick up a guitar initially? And
I have a half brother, and when I was he didn't live with us when we were kids. He lived with his mom. So when he would come visit during the summer, he played guitar, and he can play anything. You know, my dad plays guitar, but he was in high school. He was in like a Jimi Hendrix cover band, and like he can play anything. He was always in bands, you know. So I remember when he would come during the summer, he'd like let me hear like some of his tapes and he left a Nirvana album one time, and then I was like, man, I gotta play guitar. I gotta grow my hair out like him, you know. So yeah, that's really who done it, you know.
There was a I didn't have many friends growing up other than my brother, but I did have a couple, and one of them, he went to a different school, but his name was Corey.
Yeah.
And I went and saw him like one summer when I was 11 or 12, and he had a guitar. And I was like, wow, that's cool. Like, I'd never even seen a guitar, like an electric guitar in person. And he showed me what power chords were. And he was playing like Bush and Green Day and Nirvana. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is awesome. And we moved down to Valdosta when I was 12. And my dad got me a guitar. And my parents told me a few years afterwards, they were like, we didn't think he was ever going to do anything with it. He was terrible. I would sit it on my lap because I got tiny hands, right?
Yeah.
So like I would sit on my lap and just put my thumb over the whole fretboard and then just like strum like that. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. But I eventually I learned Green Day. And Brain Stew is the name of a song, and it's just the same staccato riff over and over through the whole song. And I learned how to play it, and like so then I only played that for like months on end, you know. But were you self-taught? Did you take some lessons?
Yeah, I was self-taught. My dad, he
what's up, me too.
Yeah, he showed me power chords and all that stuff, and and then you find somebody like I met Jake, in the 4th grade. We were all in the same music, so I had to start a band. Wanted to be like Korn.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
ICP.
Yeah. We were rappers first, so which was terrible. It was awful.
I came across your all's first demo you did.
Man.
With mostly rapping and whatnot.
I
was like,
with
well,
Lee
it's
Earth Sound.
Yeah. I was like, well, it's different. And then, like, I think we had a show together. I think it was like I was 17, so I guess you guys were 16 or something like that. And I was like surprised because there's no the rapping going on. It was like Korn, like kind of nu metal.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, they're a nu metal band too. Yeah. It was like we were, a nu metal band, and nobody liked us.
Yeah. It was pretty much when we would play shows, it'd be us and you guys, and then nobody else was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were y'all's biggest fan, me and Jake. yeah, we loved it. So.
Well, after a few years of it, like, people would start coming. But
Yeah.
I remember that, like, a lot of bands just still, like, they hated us.
Yeah, they really did.
Like, it's not like we were, like, political or anything
Yeah.
like that, you know what I mean?
And I really liked all the other bands that just hated us.
Yeah,
you know? 'Cause, you know, I'm into hardcore music and stuff, and that was real popular. And
I dug the music, and I would, like, try to talk to them, like, after the show, and they're just, like, total dicks.
Yeah. They just thought we were Korn. We just wanted to be Korn. You know, Jake had dreads, wore kilt.
Yeah.
I don't see the resemblance, but... yeah, it was fun, though, man.
It was definitely builds character.
Yeah.
I've learned that getting booed while you're on stage will definitely build your character up.
Yeah.
That's definitely the first time I ever saw Ben was at one of his shows.
Yeah, Vito's.
At Vito's, yep.
Man.
Had no idea I was going to marry a new metal kid.
That's what I thought was, like, so cool, is, like, whenever y'all became a couple, I'm like, these are two of my friends. That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And, like, y'all are both individuals and passionate about your beliefs, and neither one of you all have ever given me shit about, because I don't believe like you guys believe. And it's, as I told Jake, it's never mattered. It's all about, like, your character, your mind, and, like, who you are.
Yeah, and it shouldn't matter, because it's all personal, you know? Like,
precisely.
You know?
And
I don't want anybody giving me shit about what I believe, you know?
No,
so, like,
I mean,
why would you? Which people do all the time.
I really enjoy watching your all's news feeds. Whenever you guys do post your opinion, you just see all the people get triggered.
Dude, you post hashtag vegan, and it is insane.
Somebody, like, Ben's motorcycle got shared on a motorcycle Instagram, and it, like, almost went viral on Instagram because, you know, it says vegan straight edge on the side really big, so when he's riding, people can obviously see it.
And then I was standing in front of it, and it was like, I didn't know Starbucks got bouncers, and I was like, I like coffee. Is that a, you know, like, should that offend me?
And then someone was like, I bet your motorcycle runs on sperm, you faggot.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it was insane. It got shared, like, on 4 different pages. And then I started just commenting back funny things, you know, like some guy was like, oh, he's straight edge, I bet he does CrossFit too. And I was like, yeah, I actually do, you know, like, and then they
I'm actually a swole motherfucker, you can tell by the picture.
And then they blocked me from the pages.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even being mean. I was like, this is the internet, you can't get mad, you know, like.
Yeah, and then there were, like, I commented on one and someone told me that shut up.
Yeah,
and,
it was
like,
insane.
It
think,
was so crazy.
I know I've talked with you about it before, because, like, I hadn't seen either of you all since your wedding, and you all got married on my mom's birthday, so I always remember your all's, like, anniversary. But that with veganism and straight edge, like, combined, your all's ideological principles are not aligned with social justice warrior culture, right? And the fact that you guys are white will trigger them even further. So, like, with me, somebody else who's just like, nah, I fucking, you're all ideological supremacists. I don't like SJWs. Like, it's fucking gross. Like, you're judging people based on what they believe, and they're not doing anything with their beliefs to infringe on yours. That's wrong, you know? So, you all being separate from that, like, you all are almost immune to, like, any attacks, because on one essence you kind of agree with it. Like veganism is about, like, benevolence, you know what I mean? Ideologically it is about benevolence, so you would assume that, like, a lot of people that are keyboard warriors that are just like oh, you're a horrible fucking person, like, all this would, it's like the basement of, like, the foundation of veganism is this principle, and they can't get past it. So then it just becomes like a rhetorical warfare of saying, like, well, I'm emotionally triggered by you just being you, so their attacks are all based on emotion. Meanwhile, you're outside the scope of the emotional attacks, so you just get to sort of sit back and be like, huh. Interesting.
You really get used to it, you know. And it's funny, people, you know, people want to be themselves and be proud of what they are, but then when they see somebody else doing it, it's like they get so angry about it, and I don't get it.
And I mean, it is kind kind of difficult sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I have trouble like going on Facebook and people like showing their pictures of their deers that they just shot and killed for no reason. You know, it's like sometimes I do want to be a bitch about it, and I kind of want to call them out. But then I think about it, and I'm like, well, what is that gonna show them about veganism? Nothing. Like, that's not veganism. That's not me spreading compassion. That would be me doing the opposite. So like, step back. You know, it's okay. I mean, it sucks and I hate it, but there's nothing I'm gonna do to change their mind if I attack them too. So like,
well, I don't think you want everybody in the world to be of the same ideological principle, because I think in that manner that means you have one puppet master sort of controlling everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that's a broad brushstroke to make, but in essence, that's what you would have, right? So the fact that like America has kind of set the pace like for the world to advance since like we became a country. We haven't been a country that long, but still we've gotten to this point to where all of these, like, we're all bastards of culture, right? Like, so like it's been interesting in the past couple of years, especially with the news just pushing stuff to just trigger you. That's their whole goal, is like, you don't need a discussion, be angry. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, if you look at the history of media, before that, during Bush Obama terrorists everywhere years, all it was just like, don't worry about it, but be afraid of like these diseases. Yeah. You know, it's like this disease panic. It happens every election cycle. Mm-hmm. If you go back, there's compilations you can see in the news of them pushing it out. 2000, 2004, 2006, 2008, like clockwork. Yeah. And I think it's part of it as well, like I was saying, like the media's job to just trigger you into emotional reaction rather than taking a step back and thinking about something judiciously.
But I think that's why things are getting to the point with like mass shootings happening every day pretty much, and you know, people becoming just more and more violent. It's because that is what we're doing. We're all walking around and our emotions are just so heightened. Like, I mean, and that's when you can become angry easily. I mean, it all makes sense. Mm-hmm. Plus, you know, not to mention climate change, everything getting crazy with the weather, that makes your aggression like levels go up. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
Well, especially when it's repeated certain things, like mass shootings, mass murders, like they have been happening in America since like day one. You look at outlaws, you look at problems that have been going on in the hood. They don't report on those because it doesn't fit this narrative of trying to get you emotionally reaction from yourself. I think it's the same thing with like climate change. When you start looking, you know, granted, since I'm into conspiracies, I tend to get a little obsessive with looking. But once you actually start listening to like, well, what are people that disagree, what are they talking about, rather than just, well, they're climate change deniers, you shouldn't listen to them. That kind of sounds like a church telling me I shouldn't listen to something that maybe, I don't know, points to Hinduism having some truth to it as well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's somebody, I feel they're trying to corner us ideologically as well. And like you said, we're like, all this stuff, it's almost designed to make you angry, right? I think in that state, you're also more easily manipulated by malevolence, for lack of a better term. So, and I look at like some of these school shootings, and I would not be, or not even school shootings, just mass shootings, but I would not be surprised if some of them have been orchestrated by what we would call, I don't know, the deep state. It's foreign intelligence that is embedded in our country's intelligence, and it has been for a while. And I am very pro Second Amendment because of the principle of, all right, so you're telling me that people that are not law-abiding citizens are going somewhere and murdering law-abiding citizens, and that the solution for that would be to take the guns or limit the means of protecting oneself to law-abiding citizens. It's not solving a problem, because these folks are like, don't give a fuck about the law. They don't give a damn about human rights. That's why they're murderers.
Right.
And for us to try to impose, what would you call it? Reconciliation from somebody else's sins to the rest of us law-abiding citizens, get fucked, dude. like I'm not a gun nut. I have guns, but I'm not a gun nut. But just on that principle alone, if you look at the history of the world, anytime this idea of gun confiscation comes along, that's when you have government coming in and doing bad shit to people. It happens every time.
They do enough bad stuff now.
Yeah, like that's
even
that's
us having guns. You know, they're still doing bad stuff.
Dude, have you seen the it's stuff in Virginia where it's the same guy, and again, I'm pro-choice, but he's the post-birth abortion governor that says that, like, well, the doctor can decide then. And that he's tied in with stem cell and some of this organ harvesting companies, so he's just profiting off of it.
Yeah.
Like he's just a normal fucking politician. But they put in now in Virginia where they're starting to try to confiscate guns. They had a protest. There was like something like 2,000 people showed up outside the state capitol or the governor's house. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
But peacefully, all of them armed to the teeth, every color and creed you could see in America. And the news didn't say squat about it. Yeah. They may have mentioned it, but they didn't look at like all of these groups that were there, just like nah, Second Amendment, like from all different backgrounds. It was fucking beautiful. Yeah. So what the Virginia government did, the petition that they need in order to oust a current government, they can't remove it, right? So what they did is they went in the back door and increased the amount of votes to be like double of what they had in order to oust the government of Virginia. So it's just government giving itself more power.
Yeah, it just makes you not want to get involved with it. You know, like it's so frustrating.
It makes me want to. I like having the dialogue. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because then you can get some sense across some people that are just like no, like we need to do something. It's like I agree, but this is not what we need to do. Yeah. Like it's not going to solve anything. Yeah. I would go more with looking at our drug laws and our healthcare system and like what do we provide? Why aren't we providing with through social programs? I mean, we can privatize them, put them in the private sector, and use our tax money to go to them, so you create jobs in the private sector and your taxes are still going to something beneficial. Right. So we can provide, like, why don't we have free childcare, free drug rehabilitation, like free mental health assessments, not having big pharma dictate what you can and can't do with your body, which is my argument for the abortion laws. It's telling an autonomous being what they can or cannot do with the one thing they clearly have as their private property.
The only thing you have in life.
like this is it. That's kind of like the whole thing with like tattoos. Like I would be a hypocrite with like these beautiful tattoos to sit here and say like you can't go out there and kill that embryo. Right? You know what I mean? Like it's hypocritical. This is my body. It's my choice. Yeah. Now, personally, as far as like the taste or morality of abortion, that's a different argument completely. I don't like it, but again, like it's the government. Like the government has no business telling you what you can or can't do with your body. Yeah, that's my point of view on it.
Yeah, morals are weird because they're like kind of made up, you know, a little bit, but
to a degree, I think there is something cosmic in us that we know, like when you do evil to somebody, and you should feel guilt afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I feel like killing animals is morally wrong, but like a lot of people don't, you know. So I don't know who's to say.
Well, even,
you know, like
even with that, it becomes a tricky argument because if you're hypothetically, if you're pro-choice and vegan, you just had a contradiction somewhere in the benevolence logic, right? So I think kind of like what you said, like morality it's not universal completely. Yeah. You know, which again I think is good. We don't have that we all don't agree on the same thing, but we agree on certain things. Yeah. You know, and that's how you make a society work.
Yeah, one of the more like interesting arguments that we always get when we're talking about veganism is definitely like Christianity and veganism, because the main argument is always, well, God put these animals here for me to eat because he knew I love fried chicken.
Dominion
yeah,
over
dominion
animals.
over animals.
It's that
and
word,
it's like,
dominion.
Yeah, but like, think about how much has changed since biblical times. Like, we aren't still doing the same things they did during that time period. So like, why would it still be that closely, like, why would it still be hand in hand like that? I don't know. But either way, that's been one of our biggest arguments. It's definitely one that's kind of, you can't really argue it too much, because I mean, it goes in with, like, for one, we're not Christians, so like, what are we gonna be able to say to convince?
Well, that means you're just going to hell anyway.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Like...
So it's like, well, I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, I would. Here's a counter you can make to somebody like that, especially if it's on like a timeline. Is that Pythagoras was actually about benevolence and about all kindness. I think that was 500 BCE.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I had no idea.
I think it just goes back to...
That wasn't in the Bible, so...
It was not.
It doesn't count.
I'm just saying, time started then.
Pythagoras? Who the fuck is that?
Yeah, remember that in math.
But yeah, being here in South Georgia and then being a vegan, I'm not straight edge, but been as vegan straight edge, and then people call us Satanists all the time, so apparently we're Satanists, so... I mean, it's been interesting.
Why do they call you Satanists?
I mean, I wear a lot of Satan shirts.
We might wear some stuff that suggests that we're Satanists, but we're not.
You know, I just do that because it's funny. You know, like, I have a shirt that says Satan is king. I don't personally believe in Satan because I don't believe in God. Like, how can you believe in one and not the other, you know?
Right.
But it's very funny in the South on Sunday to wear Satan is king shirts to the coffee shop.
I bet it's a similar reaction to people that wear MAGA hats in Manhattan. You know?
You just gotta keep people on their toes, you know. So.
Well, I mean, I think there's so much of like rock and roll culture is sort of derived from the occult itself. Like, I mean, heavy metal was arguably inspired by the Dark Ages and you know, all of this evil shit that was going on.
I guess that's the part of me still being punk rock, going against the grain, you know, like, what's more against the grain than, like, you know, straight edge veganism and hell Satan, you know, like, that's me.
Well, I've always found that just like music like that, like I like a touch of evil in my music, you know what I mean? And even like me, someone who does believe in God, but I don't like organized religion. That's my qualm with it. I have not been able to find one church that I could go and talk to about shit. I'd be like, hey man, I'm telling you, if you eat enough of these mushrooms, you will have a divine experience. They'll just be like, get the fuck out.
Because organized religion doesn't want you to ask questions, you know.
Yeah. Well, even with like the like weed or something like that, like I don't know many biblical verses, but Genesis 1:12, I've given you all the seed-bearing plants and herbs to use. So, I mean, if...
It's in the Bible.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, there's fucked up things that are in, like, holy books as well, that people just want to sort of cherry-pick and, like, be like, oh, this is the word, it's you gotta take it literally. It's like, bro, if you go, like, a couple books over, it's talking about how to legitimize and beat your slave. Like, I no.
Like all the crazy stuff. What is that? Leviticus has all kinds of crazy stuff.
Talking about all these abominations. It's like you have sex with your woman on her menstrual cycle. If you have,
God forbid.
If you have sex with a dude and you're a dude. If you eat cloven-hooved animals. All this stuff that's like, I don't really think that defines if you're a good person or not. Call me old-fashioned. You know. But now I think that I think the Bible's important, but I don't think that it's I don't think you should take it to a fundamental level or anything like that, or any religion for that matter. But point being, but just like with back to like rock and roll culture, like you're wearing a Marilyn Manson shirt, and like Marilyn Manson, like when I was 12, oh my God, like that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, dude.
Right.
I got introduced to Tool and Marilyn Manson both when I was 12 years old, and like their videos were so macabre and like beautiful, you know, and like these twisted nightmares. And then I think later that summer, Korn's Life is Peachy came out, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the angriest thing I've ever heard. And like it was also dark as well, but God, man, like Korn, like now in my mid-30s, I can go back and listen to like the first 3 albums, and I'd be like, it's still good. It's like I'll still fuck with this. But Marilyn Manson, almost every album he has, I can still fuck with. I absolutely love his music.
What's funny is, like, growing up, so my dad would totally let me listen to any Eminem song. Like, he did not care. We listened to any rap, any Eminem song, and, you know, to me, like, that was pretty risque back in the day, letting your 8-year-old listen to some Eminem. But anyways, when Marilyn Manson came on MTV, my dad looked at me. This is one of the only things I ever remember about him, like I can see it, you know, still. Mm-hmm. He said, if you ever bring home a Marilyn Manson CD, I will ground you and I will probably beat you. He was like, you are not allowed to listen to Marilyn Manson ever. Like, if I ever find out you're listening to it, you're going to be in so much trouble. And it was like, what? Like, you don't care what I watch, you don't care what I listen to, but you care about this guy? Like, he's not I mean, to me, it just didn't make sense. Like, Eminem has a much darker message. Because it's so violent. And it's so...
Definitely way more vulgar than
Manson
ever was.
Well, plus with hip-hop, though, Marilyn Manson has hip-hop influences in his music. It's not as detailed as something say like Eminem. So for example, if you just take the lyrics of like Marilyn Manson's longest song and an average Eminem song, the lyrics of the Eminem song are still going to be significantly longer than Manson's are.
Right.
So there's a lot more space for vulgarity and like risque content and violence in like an Eminem song than almost all of Marilyn Manson's. Yet Eminem would not have reached prominence without Marilyn Manson being a precursor for him. Right. Like, and I think Eminem knew that. He even like had him on like stage and videos and whatnot.
Yeah, he was on that video.
My dad was kind of the opposite. He hated hip hop. He was like, all they're doing is talking. That ain't music. So like if he took me to the record store with like money I had earned, if it was parental advisory or something, he didn't care.
Yeah. He
didn't care. That was fine. He got me a Marilyn Manson t-shirt like for my birthday one year and a Korn t-shirt as well. I was like, thanks, Pops. Yeah. But if it was rap or hip hop, you'd be like, put that back. Yeah. You ain't buying that.
Yeah. My mom didn't care at all. She said as long as you get straight A's. Mm-hmm. She didn't care at all.
Yeah, my mom, if she took me to the record store, she didn't care if I got rap or hip hop because there were some hip hop songs she liked. But if it was like parental advisory though, like oh no, she wasn't having it. That was her like. But Marilyn Manson, she would let me get because like she got like the art behind for she's an art teacher or was an art teacher. But my I have a cousin that whenever we moved down here in '96, she was going to school for the time being in Miami. To be a police officer, and then she graduated and stayed in the Hollywood area, which is like north of Miami, I think, and she was a what do you call it? A fake prostitute. Yeah. Like that's what she did. So she had some interesting stories, but anyway, so while she was training, she was working for this food delivery service, like a grocery store that would deliver food. And she met Brian Hugh Warner's dad, Hugh Warner, Marilyn Manson's dad, delivering groceries. And then he would request for her to come back and bring the groceries over and over. And so that's how I heard of Marilyn Manson, because she was like talking to my mom on the phone. She's like been delivering groceries for this guy, Hugh. He's talking about his son's band, Marilyn Manson. They've got a video on MTV And it's pretty wild. And then Sweet Dreams was what she was talking about.
Wow.
Was the video that he had on MTV.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I saw him. With Eric Herndon. I think it was 2005. And so it was still while he was in his prime. And he was on his Lest We Forget, the greatest hits tour or whatnot. He played for like 2 hours. Like, it was fucking fantastic. I see some of his stuff now that he's like...
Awful. We saw him with Slipknot 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, and he
was so drunk.
He was so drunk.
That's what I've seen.
Man. It was such a bummer because you're so excited and like the whole audience is just sitting down because everybody was just disappointed.
Yeah, he did walk by us though.
Yeah. He walked. Yeah, he walked by. I was like, he's right there, and that was.
We're like, ah, and then you're done.
Yeah.
But Slipknot on the other hand, holy fuck, like the best show.
Yeah.
Did you like their new album?
I did.
I thought
it was really good.
I thought it reminded me of. I like how. All their albums have a different feel to them, and this one was almost like a haunted arcade.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like kind of glitchy and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I saw Jim Root, their guitarist, was talking about that they wanted to do as they've always done, treat it like an album, even though like that's not what's the marketable thing nowadays. People, the short-term things. But I think we're like most things, we're starting to see the pendulum swing back. So you look at Slipknot and Tool's new albums, and they are long as shit, And I dig that. Yeah, that's the type of music I like. Is I want to dive into it and stay in it.
Yeah. I wonder if it's doing that because people don't listen to the radio anymore. Like you don't have to make a radio song anymore, really. Just listen to Spotify.
Yeah.
What you want.
Like fucking Tool's Fear Inoculum. I think it broke the Billboard 100, which, I mean, that's just them being on that chart is kind of weird in itself.
Yeah.
But it broke the Guinness World Record of the longest song to be on because it's over 10 minutes long. And like I think all but one of the songs on that album are over 10 minutes long. Like, people like long content. It's like podcasts. 10 years ago, people were like, nobody's going to listen to people talk that long.
How long is Freebird? It's like 8 minutes long, right? It feels like it.
I was talking with a buddy of mine, like, what if Leonard Skinner came to like perform a show, right? And they open up with Freebird, and then they're just like, "Good night, that's it." But then they come back out for an encore and just play Freebird again.
No one would care. No one would care, especially if they're at Wild Adventures.
Oh God, man!
They love it.
I think a lot of times people like that, and why they like that kind of music, it's because it's a program, it's a formula, right? And you get a similar reaction that you're used to. So even though you may not know that, like, oh, that's just was it Pacabella, that ba 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 ba. Well, if you take the rhythm section of that, it applies like an ungodly amount of like pop songs that just follow that formula. So I think a lot of people like that kind of music just because they don't have to process it, they don't have to think about it. And a lot of times people like that, they don't listen to what you would call angry, quote unquote, music, which is normally just dark tinted music,
Yeah, the good stuff.
I like it. So you still play guitar?
Man, since I started tattooing, I have not. We have an acoustic guitar up at the shop. Every now and then I'll pull it down for like 5 seconds. And I did pull my electric guitar out of the closet last year. And I was like, this year is going to be the year that I actually play. We've been going to the DIY house, seeing them shows. And like, when you see a couple bad bands, you're like, God, I could do this. Like you miss it. You're like, man, I could do so much better than this. It'd be fun, And I'm into a lot, when I was in a band, we were so new metal. And that was all I listened to, And now I listen to a little wider range, hardcore, straight edge hardcore, all that stuff, and I'm like, man, it'd be so much fun to start like a vegan, straight edge, militant, hardcore band, just kind of like fun and just ignorant, just to piss people off.
Just super militant.
I mean, but I'm the only one I know, so that would be like that. But anyway, so yeah, I got my guitar out and it's still sitting there waiting for me to pick it up, man. I don't make the time anymore, really. Shit,
dude, just start doing the one-man band thing.
Yeah, right. That's what I need to do. But I just got to make time. I tattoo so much and I draw so much. my weekdays are so busy between getting up early, working out. Just haven't put it in my schedule yet.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
I'm a
we
very
go to
scheduled
bed
person.
at like 8 o'clock every night, so doesn't leave much room. Plus, we have 11 animals, so they take up a lot of our time.
Good Lord. That's a lot. I've got 1 cat.
Yeah, we have 9.
Yeah, we have 9, so
9 cats?
9 cats.
Holy hell.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Are they all fixed?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. That way you don't have a cat orgy going on.
Yeah.
God, when I was growing up, we had 1 dog. She was a black lab. Her name was Puff.
Aww.
And we had 1 cat. Her name was Pookie. And Pookie was she was the thought cat of the neighborhood. Pookie got around the block a lot.
Yeah.
In 4 years, she had 10 litters.
Holy
God.
Like, she was just constantly just shitting out kittens.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, none of that at our house. So, we have enough.
One of our cats, she's a female and she's so fat. Like, we were kind of scared she was pregnant because she's so round. But we're like, they're all fixed.
Yeah.
So like,
Even the dogs, so it's not the dogs.
well, thank God for
I'm
that.
telling you.
What kind of hybrid animal would that come out?
I don't even know.
ugh,
I don't think it would be
terrifying.
cat dog.
Yeah, I would hope.
Damn it.
It would be. But,
That'd be so nightmarish. You imagine that? Like, go to the pet store, you see something just 2 opposite heads.
yeah.
Where did they shit?
Yeah.
That's the age-old question.
Yeah.
It's like human centipede shit.
Yeah.
It's like one mouth eats, the other one
Yeah.
shits.
Oh man.
It's good to have civilized conversations.
Exactly. People will enjoy this content for sure. But no, I need to start playing more. I miss it. But
It's therapeutic, man. If like the guitar is like the oldest friend I have.
Yeah.
That's my first love.
Yeah.
And just there it's kind of like a security blanket at times.
Yeah.
Even if there's just like me who like I live by myself,
Yeah.
so I got to have something to occupy my time where like I'm not at work. you know? So like I've learned that having the guitar and just staying with it, even if it's only once a week, I
Yeah.
stay with it at least like an hour, like once a week.
yeah.
Keep my chops up. Plus I'm getting older and like the knuckles and the fingers they don't work as well as they used to.
Yeah. I totally get that.
Yeah.
So I think it's the back of my mind is sort of like the mortality starts kicking in the older you get, and it's just like, oh god, I gotta record all these good guitar parts while I can still do it, because like another 10 years, I don't know if I'll my power chord's gonna be hurting even more than it is now.
Everything's gonna be drop D then.
I'll just use open tuning. I'll
That's
go back to playing it on my lap with my thumb.
Yeah.
1 fret, all strings, good to go.
Yep.
That will be how I have to learn how to play with my damn hands.
So you've been learning how to ride a bike as well? Then I see that on like your all's feed of you on the.
Motorcycle. I was like, a bike? I know how to ride a bike.
I can barely ride a bicycle.
Well, I did. I took a Harley class, but I dropped out the second day, so I never got my license. And I'm kind of terrified of the bike now. It all happened during the class. I don't really know what happened. It just.
Yeah.
I
I think during the class they tell you like everything that could happen that's wrong that could happen. You could die and all this stuff, which is something you shouldn't tell her. you gotta sugarcoat it, So yeah, they messed up doing that. So
Well,
You get a
also,
horse
like-
instead. You ever done horseback riding before?
No.
Have you ever done it?
no, I don't like horses. I mean, I like all animals because I'm
they're-
vegan, but
right.
horses.
You don't
He's
have to
scared
be
There's
friends
something about
with a
them, man.
horse
When I
just
look
'cause you're vegan.
when I look at their heads and their eyes, they remind me of aliens. You know what I mean? Like I feel like aliens came down and they're here, and they're just horses that are watching us. You know what I mean? Like when you look in a horse's eye, man, shit scares me.
Their teeth is what is the most frightening.
Dude, that's another thing.
Like, well, because you'll see them like that big old head of theirs, it can like turn like all the way back here, and like then the teeth can like come out even further. Yeah, there's like a xenomorph on Alien or something.
Maybe like a little like mini horse or something, like little Sebastian or something. Like I'd probably like that maybe, you know, but like a normal standard horse that's not a unicorn.
You should do a photo shoot of you just wearing a loincloth, and just like this buff old tattoo dude riding a tiny
little Sebastian.
You guys should though, man. Like riding a horse. Like I've only ridden a motorized bicycle once.
Yeah.
I did okay riding it, but then when it got slow and I went to turn, then of course I fell over.
Yeah. That's everybody's problem on motorcycles.
I wasn't damaged, neither was the bike, so it's all good on that accounts. But like a horse, man, that type of exhilaration you'll get on a horse as well. And plus, like it's an independent thing.
Yeah.
But it's exhilarating, dude.
Yeah.
I was riding down the road here and was coming around the corner, and there was this dude wearing a Rastafarian t-shirt with like dreads all the way down his back, and just riding a horse one-handed. Like throwing a hand away. I'm like, damn, man. I wonder if that dude's got like weed in the saddlebag or something.
Yeah, we won't be doing any horseback riding, but I'm down to pet some horses for sure.
Yeah.
Down to pet them.
I wouldn't pet a horse.
Yeah. I'll take a picture of you petting a horse.
Perfect.
I will zoom in.
Have y'all ever thought about like starting like an animal sanctuary or something like that?
Yeah.
Like as far as like when you get old and feeble and
we
That's
definitely.
our long-term goal.
Yeah, it's a long-term goal. You know, there's a lot that goes into taking care of animals, which we don't have the time or the knowledge right now, but eventually that'd be something.
I think there's one in St. Augustine, if I'm not mistaken. Like it's not a zoo. It's like a preserve where they have like land and they can run around.
There's a lot of them everywhere. You know,
we've been to a few. There's actually one down the road here. Fifth Day Farm. They're not vegan owned, but they rescue all of their animals. They have a huge tortoise. They have llamas, pigs, cows, everything. Birds, bunnies, guinea pigs.
The birds kind of make me. I'm not too keen on it. Like every time I see birds in sanctuaries, because they're not usually in an aviary. They're usually just in a cage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like birds are supposed to fly, man.
Yeah.
Like one of the saddest things I've seen. I was at an animal preserve in West Virginia, and like it was like awesome. You know, like they've got plenty of room for the animals. But they had two bald eagles in like this tiny little thing. I'm like, that's the most un-American thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about like reptiles when I see people with reptiles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, does that bearded dragon really want to live in a shoebox sized tank? You know, like, no.
And I used to have snakes. I've had two bearded dragons in my lifetime, and like I feel the same way now. I don't think I could go back. Now, if one really needed a home and needed rescue, I might foster one for a bit. But even just thinking about feeding a snake now, I don't know how I could do that.
Dropping pygmy mice.
I can't. Even when I had a snake before, when I was still eating meat and dairy and all that, I mean, I would cry every time I fed my snake. But also, like, I know that they have to eat, so... Yeah. It's very.
So we should just release them and let them do their thing.
Let's just let them.
Let them invade the, Let
them show up. What was that neighborhood in Valdosta where they all got
let out
the pythons?
Wasn't there was a monkey too? Wasn't there?
I think so.
It was like 5 years ago. Like it was like a spider monkey that had been seen in Valdosta.
Yeah. So just leave them alone. That's all.
I'm down with that.
Just let them do their thing.
Well, I mean, life feeds on life, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I wouldn't want a reptile for both of those reasons. One, I don't want to see like cute little mice get like just gobbed up, and plus, like you said, it's a confinement. They don't want to be in this little box. I feel guilty enough about leaving like the cat in the house, a bigger box, but. Like there are feral cats out here in these woods, and dude, the first night I got my cat Bonkers, like I came home from like running like an errand, and I just see this swarm of cats circling the house. Like, oh no! Like, yeah, they want to like initiate them in their gang or something like that.
Yeah.
Hard pass cats.
Yeah.
One of the things about veganism that like is kind of weird too is the fact that we do have pets. Like in a perfect vegan world, we wouldn't, because they're not here for our entertainment. They're not here, for us to do as we please with them. But because of the way we've treated animals so much in the past and the way that we've conditioned them, now we have domesticated animals. Right. Now they need homes. So now...
Because cats and dogs aren't natural.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So I thought, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
Well, I think if you shouldn't be an ideologue with any of your beliefs, right? Because then you're so rigid that if you get somebody who wants to take you down ideologically, it becomes even easier for them to do it, right? So like the argument of like, well, if you're going to be pontificating about animals' treatments to the point to where somebody can say like, yeah, but you have pets. Yeah. Like now you've sort of painted yourself in a corner. It's hard to get out of. But at the same time, it's like there's this guy, Gad Saad. He's from Lebanon. He was on Joe Rogan, but he was talking about that even with like religion, which personally I view veganism as a religion. It has its principles. It elevates you to higher consciousness. That's a religion. But he said that you should do it what you call a cafeteria. He was talking about Islam, so it's a cafeteria Muslims, where you say like this all may be within the ideology, but these are the parts that resonate with me. So I'm taking these parts, and you guys can argue over the rest of it. And I think that's the way that you should approach your values. That you like you said, you don't want to force anything on anybody, because I don't want anything forced on me. And plus, like if you are trying to make a difference and arguably convert more people to that way of life, then the way to do that is through benevolence and through being kind to them and showing them that like hey, it's not all this hype that you hear about. There's like, we're just normal people. That just believe
we're not gonna throw red paint on your fur coat. I mean, we might be like, oh, she's wearing fur, but other than that, we're not going to be violent.
Well, it is crazy that I've talked about this before, just how veganism is American as fuck, because only in America, where we have these advancements, can something like veganism go from being like a small collective to being this like strong unifying idea.
But I think that's just there's a lot of other like countries that eat vegan, they just don't call it vegan. That's just the way they eat. Like just because they can't, meat's expensive over there, like in a bunch of African countries, like we eat a lot of I know like Ethiopian food, a lot of it's vegan just because they don't have a lot of meat, it's more beans and stuff like that, so like it's just more commercialized here. I feel like, you know what I mean?
It's the convenience of it. I don't like the factory farming at all. Like if you are going to be a farmer and like have cattle and chicken and whatnot, you should let them live as long as they can live. And then take that into consideration with your business. I don't like it where you see these factories where they're just kept in these pens and cages,
which is pretty much how they all are, really. Like.
Well, here in the South, you definitely got like cattle farmers that they're just like acres and acres of land.
But nobody's buying that. Everybody's going to Walmart. You know what I mean?
For
the most part, because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's cheaper. So. But.
How long have you been a vegan now?
Let's see. March will be 4 or 5 years.
You're 5, I'm at 4.
Yeah, it'd be 5 years in March.
Was it Jake that got you into veganism?
No, I actually got Jake to go vegan. All right, so Jake, he's vegetarian forever. And I always made fun of him for being vegetarian. Remember, I had a meat chest piece
I remember.
tattooed. Yeah, and then
and you blacked it all out.
Yeah. So
you're one tough cookie. So.
Yeah, I just I don't know, man. I just one day I left the gym and I was like, I'm gonna try to be vegan. Like, I didn't know anybody that was really vegan, And I was like, let me just try it for 30 days and see how I feel physically, And I felt great, Like, it's weird to explain to people. Like, it was like my mind got clearer. Like when I was tattooing, I'd be tattooing a line and it just seemed like more focused. It's hard to explain, And I felt lighter, not like physically lighter, I didn't lose any weight or anything, but like mentally, and I don't know, maybe like some kind of spiritually or something. I don't know. I just felt lighter,
I think you could tie spirituality.
Yeah,
to
there's
that.
so
Absolutely.
much there's so much negativity that goes into meat, like and you're eating all that negativity, like a cow screaming, they die, that's in the meat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you eat that's in you, that's just so like it's once I quit putting that in my body, it's like I felt freer, like I don't know. And yes, I did that for 30 days and felt the best I've ever felt, and I still feel that way, so I just couldn't go back.
Yeah.
And
you look the best.
Yeah,
Currently that I've ever known.
I feel
you.
better, And so then I, Jake finally went vegan like the next month, because he's like, well, fuck, if Ben can do it, you know what I mean? And he's got a steak tattoo on his chest, He's like, I can do it, and he'd been wanting to do it too anyway. He just, sometimes it's hard not knowing anybody or having like a community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you two were the first guys I knew that went for veganism.
And
didn't do it for vanity reasons.
Yeah,
right.
Because I know some people.
There's
just
a lot
like,
of celebrities do that all the time. I'm vegan. Trying to get cool points, but yeah. So I'm a vegan. Then Kelly went vegan. My sister went vegan, and then me and Ansley got together. She went vegan.
And the whole shop is vegan now.
Yeah. The whole tattoo shop, and we're trying to all our supplies, as much as we can, is vegan.
Right.
And we're switching over to biodegradable, compostable, plastic-free supplies too. So we're trying to, as much as we can.
Right.
So we're trying to do that too. So it's trying to be better. Nothing's perfect, but we're at least trying to help.
Baby steps are still progress.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? So it's, and plus it's good to see something that is arguably a true alternative tattoo shop.
Yeah.
Like, because we have a thriving tattoo community down here.
We have a
really
big
do.
tattoo community here.
And you wouldn't think so because it's the buckle of the Bible belt. But like whenever I left for Jersey, I came back like a year or two later and I had pretty much sleeves and like it was a taboo thing.
Yeah.
Like to have visible display of tattoos if you're not a tattooist.
Yeah.
And now, 10 years later, it's like nobody cares. Nobody cares. So I think it's good to see that kind of progress in an area that you arguably you think the South is kind of stagnant and set in their ways, and they're really not. They just need coaxing to
and it's slow. There's progress. It's just slow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Like being, I'm a registered nurse with face tattoos. People can't believe it. It's like, well, how did you get a job? It's like, well, I did it the same way you did, ma'am. I applied for it, interviewed for it, and I had my education. So there you go. But
well, I'll tell people because occasionally I'll get stopped by like they're usually either like younger than me or baby boomers older than me. But the ones that are younger than me, they'll ask me about the sleeves, and they'll say that like, well, I'm getting a half sleeve or something because I'm trying to get a job somewhere or something. I'll say, oh, okay, cool. Let me ask you this: why would you ever want to work for somebody that judges you on the color of your skin? And you see just like a light bulb go on, because if you look at in Georgia, anyways. If you look at the clause whenever you're applying or being hired for a job and says we don't discriminate based on, it'll list all these things out, race, ethnicity, and color are included. So color is literally the color of your skin. It has nothing to do with your ancestors or anything like that. So if you're going to work for somebody that's going to judge you based on like, I noticed that you have blue and green tribal on your knuckles, or something like that. Like, why the hell would you want to work for somebody like that?
Yeah.
And again, like I think like you just sort of negated that argument by like saying like, hey, I've got face tattoos and I'm a registered nurse. So it renders their argument null, because it's all about like you said, like your credentials and your character, and willingness to work. You want to show somebody like, hey, I can make you enough money to give me money.
Yep.
Like that's what a job is.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, and my patients, not one of them, even my oldest patients, they never looked at me and fired me as their nurse because of my tattoos. I mean, if anything, like, it just gave us more to talk about, and they were always pleasant about it. So, I mean, I really think, for nursing anyways, it was about how you presented yourself. I mean, I know that it's true about everything, every job, but that's the big thing in nursing. You want to seem nice, at least.
Well, yeah, you don't want people to be terrified of it,
Oh, look. Here she comes with a needle.
But I was talking about this with a friend not too long ago about like how tattoos, or visible tattoos at least, and granted, I don't have any tattoos on my face, as you kind folks do, but still, like, you see somebody like that, and like, there's a stigma of that, like, oh, that's a hard motherfucker right there.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I'm a big pussycat.
Dude, I get that all the time. I remember, I used to wear a big septum ring. I got face tattoos, and somebody sent me a message, and they were like, hey, so-and-so saw you in the store, and they wanted to talk to you about a tattoo, but they said you just look so intimidating. And I was like, I'm in here buying bananas. I was like, I'm buying some bananas. Like, what's scary about that? Yeah. Oh, because I got face tattoos, Yeah. And I think I'm one of the nicest people,
I've always told people that. I was talking.
Very mean.
I saw you at a coffee shop a couple months ago. So I'm there on a date, and like we were talking about Ben. And she was like, oh, he's like such a scary looking dude. I'm like, Ben? Like that's like one of the nicest people I know. It's like every time I see him, I'm like, I want to talk to him. And then I shit you not, 20 seconds later, Ben comes rolling by. I was like, Ben!
Yeah, I could hear you.
Spidey sense.
I must go to the coffee shop.
Yeah. Pretty much everybody has a tattoo nowadays. So.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. It's weird for me, being around so many tattooed people, meeting people that don't have tattoos. Like, that's weird to me when I meet somebody that doesn't. Because then I'm like, I don't think I can trust you. I can't look at your body and like automatically have like a connection, and I can't see what you're into. Like, what are you hiding? That's how I feel sometimes.
Yeah. It is a little odd.
Yeah.
That you meet somebody that no body mod at all.
Yeah.
And like I had a couple piercings when I was younger, and then I don't know, like when I started getting into body mod, I think I had both my eyebrows done. I had like my tongue done. My dad was like, "Just don't pierce your ears. I don't like that."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay." So like I never did.
Yeah.
And like now, like in my mid 30s, I'm not about to pierce my ears. Like like my appearance gets enough attention as is.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I feel like I would just look odd.
Yeah.
With piercings. And
I can just imagine you with 2 diamond earrings.
Oh, that dude fancy.
Yeah.
Like I don't wear jewelry at all. Like
Yeah.
every time I had a necklace, I ended up like either losing it or just being like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Never been me. I don't know. Well, shit, guys. It's a short session, but I know we got some stuff to do. I'm gonna get tattooed and whatnot.
Tatted up.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for doing this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
enjoyed it.
inviting us, man.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
It's fun
dude.
just talking.
Yeah, man. Like, it really is.
Yeah, we haven't talked in so long, you know what I mean? Like, so it's real nice.
Well, I mean, like, both of us are kind of homebodies, you know what I mean? Like, and you, local celebrity. And
yeah, hood famous is what I call it. So, yeah, we don't get out much, so.
Dude, like whenever I'm not at work, I like to just I want to be home with my cat and work on music and like podcast stuff. Like I don't like going out and like partying and whatnot. Like I'm too old for that shit, man.
Yeah, I'm over it too.
And I don't even drink alcohol like hardly ever anymore. So I mean, if I am gonna drink it, I don't want to be out in public.
Yeah.
Because one drink, I'm gonna be sloshed. But hell yeah. Thanks, guys, for
Thank you,
for
man.
doing this.
Thank you.
Pleasure as always. Later, y'all.